So I made a video a couple weeks ago on the Clippers, and I was like, yeah, I'm concerned about this team. They don't look good. They're old. They're not playing great. I think they might be in a little bit of trouble. Since then, it's gotten a lot worse. They're in big, big trouble. This Clippers team is screwed. That's pretty much my takeaway at this point. 4-11, 1-6 on the road. They've lost 9 of their last 10 games. Kawhi hasn't played in the last 9 games, and they don't have their first round pick. They are in trouble. They're like the oldest team in the league. They have really no young, real talent. Beyond potentially role players, and even that might be pushing it. I'm not sure they have a really good quality role player in anybody on this team under 25. Like, they are in a rough spot going forward. They're old, they're injured, and they're bad. Not a good combination, especially when you don't have your own draft picks, and they're expensive on top of that. Like, they're not a cheap team either. They're over I think they're right at the first apron. Like, they are not a cheap team either. So they're in a rough spot. They get absolutely annihilated by the Magic, who have been playing better as of late. And Harden plays another great game. Pretty efficient. 31 points, 8 assists. He has done a lot for this team so far. Really having a great year. And he's just fighting by himself right now. Him and Zoo. Honestly, Zubac is fighting too. But it's rough. It is really, really rough. And the unfortunate truth is, there's not really a path up. You know what I mean? You just have to kind of pray Kawhi comes back soon, healthy. He twisted his ankle really bad, or rolled his ankle really bad. But hopefully he'll be back here relatively in the near future. That was, a couple weeks ago at this point. So Bradley Beal's out for the year. Derek Jones is out for at least the next month and a half. That happened just a couple days ago with a sprained MCL. Kawhi should be back soon, which will help. But yikes. Just overall, besides James Harden and Kawhi in terms of performance, and I guess Zubac, it's pretty rough. It really is. I mean, Harden is averaging 26 points a game, shooting 38% from 3, 51% from 2-point range, 8.6 assists, 6.2 rebounds, better than 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio. On this type of team, that's really impressive. 36-year-old James Harden coming out here and absolutely freaking hooping. Got to give credit where it's due. They desperately need Kawhi to play, because with Kawhi playing, at least they could be a competent team. But again, he hasn't played the last 9 games, so we'll see what happens there. Zubac is still a really good big. I think he was a borderline all-star last year. Hasn't been quite as good this year, but has still been very, very solid, averaging 16 and 11, and on pretty good efficiency. Look, besides those 3 guys, though, and that's 36, 34, 28. And Zubac isn't really a guy you probably want as your third option anyway, but if you have a great supporting cast, I don't hate it. But look at the rest of this roster. 33-year-old Bogdan Bogdanovic, 31-year-old Chris Dunn, who's shooting okay-ish, but still I think there is some limitations when it comes to some shooting stuff, and Bogdanovic isn't shooting the ball that great. John Collins has been solid. He's not shooting the 3-ball well this year either. He shot well in Utah last year, but again, he's 28, and he's a role player at best. Derek Jones, role player, 28. Bradley Beal, out for the year, 32. Kobe Sanders is, I guess, contributing a bit. He's the most contributing of their young guys. Cam Christie's playing 11 minutes a game, shooting okay, shooting decently from 3, so that's useful, I guess, potentially. But like, they declined the 5th-year option on Kobe Brown. I think this is their rookie, Yannick Konan-Nieder. He's not even in the rotation. Shooting ridiculously efficiently, by the way, but 5.5 minutes a game in 6 games is way too small of a sample size to tell anything. Like, they just don't have any quality role players who are young, though. There's just nobody there that you really trust. Jordan Miller has played decent in 3 games so far this year, but these are like bottom of the, I'm like really stretching just to try to find a couple of decent young role players here. God, nobody who's really proven themselves. Nobody in the real rotation of this team who is under, I guess, except for Kobe Sanders, kind of, maybe Jordan Miller, under 25. Like, Jordan Miller's 26. It's just not great at all. You look at this team and it's like, they're a bad team that's also old, and then they don't have their own draft picks. That's a recipe for disaster. Obviously, they don't have their own pick this year. They will get a Memphis second-round pick, I guess. They have pick swap rights in 2027. They don't get the best pick. They'll get like OKC's crappy pick, basically. They don't have their own 2028 pick. 2029, they have a pick swap. They have their 2030 pick, 2031, 2032 at least, I guess. I would really recommend not trading in this 2031 pick to try to improve this roster this year, though. I really think they're just screwed. I mean, they have a nice arena. It's about the only positive I'm looking at right now. I don't see a real path forward for this team to be competitive anytime soon. Free agency, I guess, maybe it's going to have to be the way they build their team because they don't have draft assets. But it's going to be hard to convince people to come here when your only good, really good players are Kawhi and Harden, and Kawhi's never on the court, and Harden's getting older, and I have no confidence that Harden's going to want to stay in LA and just sit here and languish on this awful team. Not to mention, if he continues to have to carry this level of an offensive load this often at this point in his career, I would not be surprised at all if that leads to some sort of injury. We saw it with Kyrie last year. It's just, it's bad. It's really, really, really bad. And I'm not sure what the path forward is. When you don't have most of your second round picks, you don't have really any control over your first round pick for the next 4 years, and you don't have a pick at all this year. OKC's going to get a lottery pick from them probably, which again, that's a whole other thing. OKC's just, they're blessed. Oh my gosh, not blessed. Sam Presti just did an incredible job. Give credit to him. But oh my goodness, this is so bad for the Clippers. And you like, look at their path. The only positive for this team really is that the Pelicans suck, the Kings suck, the Mavs suck, the Grizzlies suck, the Jazz aren't fighting, but they kind of suck, and the Trailblazers are fighting, but they're even kind of meh. You know what I mean? The only positive here is that the West is actually, besides the top 6, maybe 7 teams, Phoenix has been impressive so far. We'll see if that lasts. Besides those top 7, I guess 8. The Warriors as well have been inconsistent, but I think have promise as well as a decent team still. Like, there is a path to making the play-in, you know what I mean? Even if you are bad, there is still a path to making the play-in if they can get Kawhi back healthy and get him playing well. You know what I mean? Obviously not a guarantee, but not even, I say not a guarantee. It feels unlikely at this point that Kawhi is going to play 60 games this year, you know what I mean? But they really need him to come back and play a bunch of games for the next, like, he needs to play every game except for back-to-backs for a while. Because they're going to need to find a way to win some games. They got to get into the play-in. They got to get lucky. They got to figure it out, you know what I mean? They're not a contender. But just for their future, they need to not completely fall apart this season. Because if they completely fall apart, then Harden's going to want out. Kawhi's not going to come back. Maybe he'll want. I don't know what's going to happen there. There's still question marks with the aspiration stuff behind the scenes as well, which I think is another whole concern potentially as well. Like, there is just so much about this team that's like, yikes. But hey, at least they have a rich owner and a really nice arena. I guess that's a positive. There's no young talent at all. It's just, this is really, 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 really rough. And honestly, when you have no young talent, very few draft assets, and an aging, injured roster, it's bad. It's really bad. I don't know how much trade value guys like Harden and Kawhi even have at this point in their careers. It's going to be hard to recoup value for those guys if you trade them. So I almost think you just have to try and hope that you can be competitive. Because if fully healthy, they probably can be. But they've been so much worse defensively than they were last year. Offensively, it's not great either. Like, they're just not good right now. Besides James Harden and Kawhi and Zubac. And I'm sorry, all 3 of those guys are going to need to really be healthy for them to have any chance of being a playoff team this year. It's started really rough. Obviously, it's not completely over yet. We're still early in the season, and a lot of other teams in the West have also struggled, but it certainly ain't looking great. It is not looking great at all. They look like they are in big trouble. That is my initial takeaway right now, in all honesty. And so we'll see what happens, but it's looking rough. There's no doubt about that. I don't know. I hope y'all did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.